What if the world you see isn't the same world I see? What if your blue is someone else's green, or a color that no one else could ever name? And what if, hidden inside the quiet of your eyes, there lived an entire universe of colors that only you can perceive? Tonight, we're going to drift through that mystery together. Softly, curiously, and without hurry. We'll explore why some people see more colors than others, and what that reveals about light, the mind, and the quiet creativity of perception itself. So settle in. Let your body relax, like paint settling to the bottom of a still glass of water. The day can stay outside the room for now. Only calm, curiosity, and the slow rhythm of thought remain. Light, the thing that makes color possible, is all around you even now. It slips through curtains, glows on your skin, rests on the edges of everything you know. But light alone isn't color. Color begins inside you. It's the language your mind speaks when it meets the world. When sunlight hits a leaf, your eyes catch just a whisper of that light. A vibration, a frequency, an invisible wave. Your brain takes that tiny flicker of energy and says, green, says life, says home. And yet, another person's brain might translate the same wave in a slightly different way. A slightly warmer green, a cooler one, or something you could never see at all. Scientists once believed we all shared the same colors, the same palette of perception. But nature loves variation. Hidden among us are people who see millions more shades than most. They live in a world richer, denser, more intricate with hues, where every sunset carries colors the rest of us could never dream of. They are called tetrachromats, and their eyes are like living rainbows. But this story isn't just about them. It's about all of us, and how the colors we see reveal the secret collaboration between physics and feeling, between photons and imagination. Because color isn't only a property of light, it's a reflection of you, of your biology, your memories, your emotions. The way you see is the way you live. So tonight, as you listen, you can let your eyes rest. You don't have to look to see. You don't have to think to understand. Just follow the gentle thread of curiosity, the slow river of story, as we explore what it truly means to see a world made of light. And before we begin this quiet journey, take a moment to help the story reach others who might need a little wonder tonight. If you enjoy drifting into sleep with a sense of awe and calm, please like this video, subscribe to The Thoughtful Night, and tell me in the comments, where in the world are you listening from tonight? It's a small way to share a little light of your own. Now take a breath, let it go, and let's begin our journey into the secret lives of colors. Morning begins quietly, not with sound, but with light. Before the first bird stirs, before the city hums awake, a faint silver spills across the world. It brushes your eyelids, even when they're closed, and whispers a color your mind already knows. Dawn. Light has always been our oldest companion. It touches every surface, defines every shadow, and yet most of what it truly is remains invisible. To the naked eye, it seems simple, a beam, a glow, a warmth. But beneath that softness lives something astonishingly precise. A river of energy, flowing in waves. Each wave carries its own rhythm, some long and slow, others short and sharp. These rhythms, or wavelengths, are the secret signatures of light. When one of those waves enters your eyes, your brain translates it into the language of color. Red, with its deep and gentle pulse, comes from long waves. Blue hums with shorter, tighter ripples. Between them lie infinite tones, oranges that feel like warmth remembered, greens that hum with life, violets that seem to vanish as soon as you notice them. And yet, light doesn't contain color. It carries potential, energy waiting to be interpreted. Color exists only when that energy meets a living mind. Imagine sunlight falling through a window, splintering across the floor. You might see honey gold, a warm amber that fills the room with peace. Someone else might see more pale yellow than gold, cooler, sharper, almost metallic. Both are right because color is not a fact. It is a perception. Every photon that touches us travels an ancient path. The light from your lamp might be a few nanoseconds old, but the light from the stars above your home began its journey long before you were born. These waves, long and short, fierce and faint, are all around you now, crossing your room in vast numbers, invisible and silent. You are surrounded by light you'll never see, because the human eye can only perceive a narrow band of the full electromagnetic spectrum, a small sliver between infrared and ultraviolet. Beyond the red we can see lies infrared light, too slow for our cones to catch. Beyond violet, ultraviolet races past our limits. Between those two invisible edges lies everything we call visible color, about one tiny octave in an infinite cosmic symphony. When you look at a rainbow, you are witnessing that rare, visible fraction of energy our eyes can translate. A spectrum drawn from sunlight, refracted by rain. But that rainbow is only the tiniest whisper of what light can be. There are colors in the world that we cannot even imagine, not because they are rare, but because our biology simply cannot interpret them. It's humbling, isn't it? To realize that most of the universe glows in colors forever beyond our reach. And yet, within that small window of perception, the human mind builds infinite variety. We paint, we dream, we remember. We give names to things that shimmer and fade. We attach emotion to wavelength, memory to frequency. The sunset doesn't just scatter light, it scatters feeling. There's a certain poetry in that limitation. If we could see everything, perhaps beauty would lose its edge. The unseen makes what we can see more precious. But here's the quiet truth of color. It isn't fixed. Each person's world looks a little different. The pigments of your eyes, the density of your cones, even the chemistry of your brain, all alter the shades you perceive. The red of your childhood toy, the blue of your favorite shirt, may live differently in someone else's mind. What you call violet might not be quite their violet at all. So when you describe a sunset, or a painting, or the soft green of spring leaves, you are speaking a personal language. Color is both universal and uniquely yours. Some scientists say that color perception is a kind of translation, the body converting invisible energy into a private sensory story. Others describe it as a collaboration between physics and imagination. Perhaps both are true. After all, light alone cannot tell you what blue feels like. It needs the interpreter, you. When you open your eyes to a morning sky, you are not merely observing photons bouncing through air. You are participating in an ancient dialogue between energy and consciousness. Every hue is a handshake between the outer world and your inner one. So much of what defines your day, the warmth of candlelight, the brightness of fresh snow, the crimson of autumn leaves, is created by this silent interaction. The photons don't care. The wavelengths don't change. But in your perception, they bloom into experience. And here's the wonder that begins our journey. For all we share as human beings, no two people see the world in quite the same way. Within your eyes lies a secret signature, a set of light-detecting cells called cones, each tuned to a specific part of the spectrum. They are the instruments that play your personal symphony of sight. The way they respond, overlap, and translate determines your unique palette of perception. So much light passes through us unseen. Yet what we do see, the colors that fill our private worlds, are enough to shape the meaning of everything around us. In this delicate balance between light and life lies the first answer to our question. Why some people see more colors than others? Because sight itself is never absolute. It's alive, shaped by the eyes that look. Every color you've ever known begins with a meeting between light and the tiny biological prism that lives inside you. Your eyes are not just windows to the world. They are living instruments, crafted by evolution to translate energy into experience. Imagine them for a moment. Two small spheres resting quietly behind your eyelids. Inside each one, layers of delicate tissue work in harmony, bending, filtering, and shaping the light that falls upon them. The process is silent, automatic, perfect in its simplicity. Yet it contains enough precision to decode the language of stars. When a photon, a single particle of light, enters the eye, it first meets the cornea, a curved window that focuses the incoming beam. Then, through the pupil, the dark center that expands and contracts like the breath of night, it passes into the crystalline lens. This lens bends the light further, guiding it toward the back of the eye, onto a thin, trembling layer of living cells called the retina. The retina is where sight begins to become meaning. Here, millions of photoreceptors wait in silence, catching light and turning it into electrical whispers. These receptors come in two kinds, rods and cones. The rods are the watchers of darkness. They line the edges of your vision, allowing you to see shapes and shadows in dim light. They are the reason moonlight feels silver, not blue or green, because in the dark your world loses color. The cones, on the other hand, are the musicians of daylight. They gather in the center of your vision, packed tightly in an area called the fovea, where each photon can be received with exquisite care. There are three main types of cones, each tuned to a different range of wavelengths. One most sensitive to reds, one to greens, one to blues. Together, they form a trinity of perception, blending their responses into a symphony of hues. When red and green cones fire together, you perceive yellow. When blue joins red, the result is magenta. From just three sources, your brain composes millions of shades, a painter's infinity built from a biological triad. But not all eyes play the same notes in the same way. Some people have more cones, others fewer. Some cones are slightly altered by genetics, shifting the balance of what red or green means to that person. To you, a strawberry might be a deep scarlet. To another, slightly muted, leaning toward brown or orange. Neither is wrong. Each is simply true for the eyes that see it. Inside the retina, each cone converts light into an electrical signal. These signals travel through a fine web of neurons, weaving patterns that converge upon the optic nerve, the great cable of vision that carries light's secret message to the brain. There, in the visual cortex, the world you see takes shape. But that's a story for another chapter. For now, pause and marvel at the quiet miracle inside your eyes. Tiny cells, smaller than dust, transforming waves of energy into the poetry of perception. Inside your eyes, tiny rivers of light turn into thoughts. Even now, as you read or listen, millions of photons are colliding with your retina each second. Some are absorbed, some reflected, some simply pass through. Each interaction becomes a message, a spark, a note in the grand score of vision. It's easy to forget how much work is being done in those small globes of tissue, how tirelessly they translate the outside world into an inner universe. But biology has no vanity. It performs its miracles quietly. Your eyes don't ask for thanks. They just keep gathering the light. And yet, there are subtle variations that change how each of us perceives color. The number and sensitivity of cones vary slightly from person to person, sometimes dramatically so. Most of us have 3 cone types, but the ratios differ. Some people's red cones respond more strongly, others' blue cones fade more quickly in dim light. A few rare individuals even possess a genetic quirk, a mutation that grants a 4th cone type. For them, the world becomes something else entirely, richer, deeper, overflowing with colors invisible to others. But that mystery belongs to the next part of our journey. Before we reach it, let's linger a little longer inside the ordinary eye, because even what we call ordinary is extraordinary. Your eyes are not mere cameras. Cameras capture images. Eyes interpret them. They do not simply record. They translate. The moment light hits your retina, your visual system begins to edit, adjust, and compensate for brightness, for shadow, for motion. The colors you see are not a perfect mirror of the outside world. They are a carefully balanced illusion, tailored to help you survive and feel at home in your environment. When you step from daylight into a darkened room, your pupils expand, your rods awaken, your cones rest. When you look at something bright, your pupils tighten like small doors. Your eyes are constantly adapting, recalibrating, whispering messages to your brain in a code of light. Even your tears play a role, keeping the surface smooth, the image sharp. The blink that feels so casual is a momentary restoration of clarity. We live our whole lives behind these lenses, rarely noticing how they shape our world. But the truth is, every hue, every glimmer, every shimmer of light owes its existence to this fragile system. Without your eyes, the spectrum would remain pure physics, wavelengths and waves, devoid of meaning. It's only through biology that the cosmos learns to be seen. Already, your colors are your own, the product of your anatomy, your chemistry, your unique pattern of perception. The reds that comfort you, the blues that calm you, the greens that remind you of life. They are signatures of you. But what if there were people whose eyes could see even more? What if, hidden among us, are those whose world is painted in shades beyond our imagining, colors we can't name, can't even conceive? We call them tetrachromats, and their vision opens a doorway into the hidden spectrum of reality. Somewhere in the gentle crowd of humanity, there are eyes that see what yours cannot. Not better, not brighter, simply more. Colors layered between colors, whispers between the familiar notes of the spectrum, shades that live in the spaces where our vision falls silent. To most of us, the rainbow is complete, 7 bold stripes from red to violet, an arc of perfection. But to a rare few, that rainbow is just the beginning. Between every color we can name, they sense hundreds more, secret tones we cannot imagine, because our eyes were never built to find them. These rare individuals are called tetrachromats, meaning for colors. They see the world through 4 types of color receptors instead of the usual 3. To understand how that's possible, let's return to the eye for a moment. As you now know, most of us possess 3 kinds of cone cells. One sensitive to long wavelengths, reds, one to medium wavelengths, greens, and one to short wavelengths, blues. Together, these cones allow us to mix and interpret all visible colors, much like how 3 primary pigments can produce the rest of a painting's palette. But genetics, with its quiet love of variation, sometimes introduces a twist. The genes that produce the red and green cones sit close together on the X chromosome. Because women have 2 X chromosomes, they carry 2 slightly different versions of these genes. In rare cases, both versions are active, giving rise to a 4th cone type. This 4th cone doesn't replace the others. It joins them. It sits between the red and green cones, tuned to a wavelength that most of us can never distinguish on its own. Where others see 1 color, a tetrachromat may see 2 distinct and vivid. Where we see a smooth gradient, they might perceive a textured field of living tones. To them, the world hums with secret complexity. A bowl of fruit isn't simply yellow or orange, but a field of delicate contrasts, golds that glint toward green, oranges threaded with invisible rows. A sunset, to a tetrachromat, is not one orange fading into pink. It is 1,000 whispers of orange, each one slightly different, each one singing a note we'll never hear. Scientists estimate that a typical person can distinguish about 1 million different colors. A tetrachromat may perceive up to 100 million, and yet most of them never realize they're different. Their world simply feels richer, not because they suspect they have a special gift, but because they assume everyone else sees the same vivid tapestry. It's only through careful testing that the difference becomes clear. Researchers once studied a British artist known as Concetta Antico, whose eyes revealed this extraordinary sensitivity. When others described a shadow as gray, she saw purples, blues, and greens swirling within it. Her paintings shimmered with an almost electric vibrancy, not from imagination, but from direct experience. She wasn't inventing color. She was translating reality as her eyes perceived it. But here's the fascinating thing. Possessing 4 cone types doesn't automatically guarantee that someone sees more colors. The brain must learn to interpret the signals those cones provide. If the visual cortex doesn't develop the neural wiring to separate those subtle wavelengths, the 4th cone remains silent, like a musical instrument never played. So even among potential tetrachromats, only a few truly experience the full depth of that hidden spectrum. Their world isn't just brighter. It's more detailed, more textured, as if the universe has painted 1 extra layer just for them. You might imagine this ability would be overwhelming, but most tetrachromats describe it as peaceful, like seeing the truth behind the surface of things. They notice differences in makeup tones, fabric dyes, paint shades that seem identical to everyone else. They might pause at a flower, unable to explain why its color feels impossibly intricate. To them, the world isn't more colorful because the world has changed. It's more colorful because they have. What does it mean, then, to see more? It means that perception is not an absolute scale. It's a spectrum within a spectrum, a living range of possibilities. Our eyes don't all tune to the same reality. They compose it uniquely, each according to its own design. For those with tetrachromacy, the world contains more notes in its visual symphony, but that doesn't make the rest of us tone deaf. It simply reminds us that every person's experience of color is their own private song. Perhaps the greatest wonder of all is that we can share and describe it at all. When you and I both point to a sunset and call it orange, we may not be seeing the same thing, yet we agree on the feeling it gives us. Language becomes our bridge between separate visions. Emotion becomes our translation. In that way, even those who see fewer colors still understand the essence of beauty, just through a slightly different filter. Color, after all, is not only something we detect, it's something we feel. If tetrachromats remind us that more colors exist than we can perceive, they also whisper a deeper truth, that reality is always richer than the senses suggest. There are wavelengths we can't see, sounds we can't hear, emotions we can't name, yet they surround us all the same. We live inside a vast ocean of possibility, touching only the surface. They live just a little deeper in that ocean, where shades mingle and meanings multiply, where a shadow is not absence, but depth, where every color tells a story that most of us can only imagine. They live in a richer painting than the rest of us, a secret gallery of light where the spectrum never ends. But as with all gifts, there is balance. For just as some eyes see more, others see less. And those quieter ways of seeing hold their own kind of wonder. Not every eye sees the full bloom of color. Some see the world softened, as if the brightness has been turned down, the rainbow thinned to its quieter notes. And yet, within that simplicity lies a strange kind of peace. For some people, the colors of life don't clash or shout. They whisper. They exist not as fireworks, but as gentle gradients, washed in shades of calm. This is the world of those with color vision deficiency, what we often call color blindness. Despite the name, most colorblind people don't live in a world of black and white. Instead, their vision filters color differently, not absent but rearranged. The reds might blend into browns. The greens might dissolve into yellow. The purples might lose their warmth, becoming something faintly gray. It's not a lack of vision, but a shift in how the eye's receptors translate light. To understand it, think again of those tiny cone cells that line the back of the eye, the same ones that give a tetrachromat her secret world of hidden hues. For most people, 3 cones work together in harmony. But for someone with color blindness, one of those cones is missing or altered. The orchestra still plays, only now one instrument is slightly out of tune. The most common form is red-green color blindness, where the cones that detect reds or greens overlap too closely to distinguish one from the other. It affects roughly 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women. Why more men? Because the genes that code for those red and green cones live on the X chromosome, and men, having only one, are more vulnerable to mutations there. In rarer forms, such as blue-yellow color blindness, the short-wave cones are affected instead. And in the rarest case of all, achromatopsia, all cone types are absent or impaired. The result? A world without color at all, painted only in shades of gray, like an old film left running in silence. But even that world holds beauty. Those who live within it often describe a heightened sensitivity to brightness, texture, and contrast. They learn to see detail that others overlook, the way light folds across fabric, or how shadows sculpt the shape of a face. Their vision becomes attuned not to color, but to structure, to tone, to the raw geometry of the visible world. One man once said, "I don't miss color. I see more shape than anyone else I know." For him, light itself was the color, its angles and shadows forming a kind of music without melody. And so, color blindness isn't a loss. It's a transformation. It reminds us that perception is not fixed. It's an interpretation, one that bends with biology and with experience. Scientists have even found that some forms of color deficiency offer advantages. During war times, colorblind soldiers could spot camouflaged objects others missed, because they weren't distracted by false color cues. Their eyes saw the truth beneath illusion. Nature, too, seems to understand this balance. Dogs, for example, are red-green colorblind, yet their vision is perfect for detecting motion and low light, gifts that helped their ancestors survive. Many nocturnal animals, like owls and raccoons, trade color for clarity, sacrificing chromatic richness for sharper night vision. In the deep sea, where sunlight never reaches, color fades entirely. Fish and cephalopods there navigate by bioluminescence, flashes of blue and green light that pulse like underwater constellations. Down there, color isn't seen. It's felt through rhythm and glow. So perhaps those with color blindness are not missing something. Perhaps they are closer to the natural balance of perception. They live in a quieter visual language, one that doesn't rely on color to find beauty. And yet, imagine for a moment what it feels like to learn you see differently from others. Children often discover it by accident. In art class, perhaps, when their green trees are colored brown, or when a teacher points to a red letter on the board that seems to vanish to them. It can feel isolating at first, like realizing you've been reading a book written in a secret code all along. But with time, many come to see it differently. The world may not glow the same way, but it speaks in other textures, in contrast, pattern, brightness, and feeling. Technology now offers bridges across those invisible divides. Specialized glasses can filter light to enhance certain wavelengths, letting some colorblind people experience shades they've never seen before. Videos of first-time wearers often capture something deeply moving: the sudden silence, the widening eyes, the tears. A father seeing the red of a rose for the first time. A child recognizing the bright orange of a basketball. A world opening not for the first time but finally in full. And yet, even without those glasses, their perception remains valid, beautiful, coherent, and true. For color is not a property of objects, but a conversation between light and the mind. And every mind speaks it differently. Perhaps that's the hidden lesson behind color blindness, that reality does not shrink when it loses color. It changes shape, finds new meaning. The absence of color, too, can be a kind of art. A grayscale world can calm the senses, reveal the architecture of light. It can teach us that the essence of beauty is not always found in vibrancy, but in contrast, in the spaces between brightness and shadow. And so, the story of vision continues, a spectrum of possibilities, from those who see too much to those who see less, each carrying a unique version of the truth. For in the end, all our eyes are instruments of translation. They take the same light and render it into private universes of meaning. No one's view is wrong, only different. And perhaps in that difference lies the deepest kind of wonder, that a single world can hold so many ways of being seen. Color begins in the eye, but it comes alive in the mind. What your eyes collect, your brain interprets, shaping wavelengths into worlds, frequencies into feelings. You never really see with your eyes alone. You see with your brain, with your memory, with every experience that has ever taught you what light means. When light enters the eye, it doesn't arrive as color. It's nothing but information. Tiny packets of energy, photons carrying numbers the brain must translate. Those signals race down the optic nerve, cross at a delicate point behind your nose, and fan out into the visual cortex like rivers joining an ocean. There, the mind begins to paint. Neurons light up like constellations as they sort and blend signals from your red, green, and blue cones. The brain interprets those electric whispers as hues, brightness, and contrast, sculpting raw physics into living imagery. Each moment, your brain performs a miracle of translation, converting invisible energy into emotion, memory, and meaning. The red of a sunset isn't just a wavelength. It's the warmth of every evening you've ever lived through, a memory painted across the sky. The blue of an ocean isn't merely reflected light. It's the echo of calm, of breath, of vastness. In truth, your brain doesn't record color. It creates it. Scientists have learned that our perception of color isn't objective. It's constructed. The brain fills in gaps, adjusts brightness, balances contrast, even corrects mistakes your eyes make without your awareness. You live inside a neural illusion so complete, it feels like reality itself. Consider an optical illusion. The famous checkerboard shadow where two squares, one light and one dark, are revealed to be identical in brightness. Your eyes see the same shade of gray, but your brain insists they're different because it interprets context, shadow, contrast, expectation. It doesn't just process. It predicts. Your brain constantly guesses what the world should look like and then edits what you see to fit that guess. That means every color in your life is a collaboration between light and imagination. You are not just a passive observer, you're the artist. Your mind, brush in hand, paints the universe each second, mixing photons with memory. There's another way the brain reveals its creative side, through afterimages. Stare at a bright red dot for a while, then look away to a blank wall. You'll see a ghostly green spot appear, floating like an echo. That's your brain's way of balancing overstimulation. The red-sensitive neurons grow tired, and the green ones briefly take over. Even when the light is gone, your mind continues to see. And in some rare, beautiful minds, the senses themselves blend together, a phenomenon called synesthesia. To a synesthete, color and sound are not separate experiences. A violin note may shimmer in gold. A whispered word might appear as a violet pulse. For them, the boundaries between sight and sound, number and hue, blur into one flowing perception. No two synesthetic experiences are the same. Some people taste color. Others see days of the week arranged in space. To them, reality feels like a living painting, and in a way that's true for all of us. For even if your senses don't overlap, your emotions color every perception you have. The brain does not just interpret color. It feels it. That's why no camera, no screen, no lens will ever perfectly capture what you see. Because what you see isn't only light. It's the sum of your memories, your biology, your story. It's personal. The same sunset viewed by two people becomes two different sunsets, filtered through two different histories of joy, loss, and wonder. Neuroscientists have found that when we experience color, areas of the brain linked to emotion, the amygdala, the insula, also come alive. That means every color carries a trace of feeling, a faint resonance of who you are. Your favorite color isn't random. It's the hue your brain finds comfort in, a shade it associates with safety, nostalgia, or calm. When you close your eyes, faint colors still swim behind your eyelids. Soft oranges, blues, and purples pulsing in darkness. Those are not just remnants of light. They're whispers of neural activity, the echo of your visual cortex still humming with quiet life. Even in the dark, your brain continues to see. And if color is a language your brain speaks, it's one made of both biology and poetry. Think of how artists use color to speak emotion without words. A painter doesn't just use red to show an apple. They use it to show warmth, courage, desire. A filmmaker doesn't choose blue light only to imitate moonlight. They choose it to evoke memory, melancholy, peace. They know instinctively what neuroscience confirms. That color bypasses logic and speaks directly to feeling. In a way, color is empathy made visible. It's how your brain shares its emotions with the world, how it translates inner feeling into outer light. That's why every shade has a temperature, every hue a heartbeat. So perhaps color is not truly a property of light at all. Perhaps it's a story your brain tells, one that turns energy into beauty. Each of us is both the observer and the author, the one who perceives and the one who creates. And that realization brings us quietly back to humility. The universe doesn't arrive in color. It arrives in waves. We are the ones who turn those waves into wonder. So tonight, as your thoughts begin to drift, imagine your brain as an artist, brush poised, working endlessly, silently. It mixes signals into softness, shapes photons into feeling. Every second, it paints your private universe, a reality so seamless you forget it's being made at all. And if you ever doubt the creativity within you, remember this. You are seeing a dream made of light, and your mind is the dreamer. Before there were words for color, there was only the world itself. Blue skies, green leaves, red earth, all shining silently, unnamed, yet fully alive. But somewhere in our ancient history, the mind began to whisper names to the light. And with each name, a new shade was born. Every language carries its own rainbow. Some are wide, filled with endless variations. Turquoise, indigo, fuchsia, coral. Others are narrow and deep, dividing the world into only a few essential tones. And yet, no matter how many words a culture uses, each one changes what its people can truly see. Modern science discovered something quietly astonishing. Color isn't only biological. It's linguistic. Your brain's perception of hue is influenced by the words you know, by the labels your culture gives to light. In a way, language bends the spectrum. Take the ancient Greeks. Their poets described the sea not as blue, but as wine dark. To them, blue wasn't a primary color at all. It had no name. Even in the Odyssey, the sky is never blue. It is bronze, misty, star-filled. Only later, as languages evolved, did the concept of blue emerge. A reminder that color is not discovered, but created through words. The same is true today among the Himba people of Namibia. Their language divides the spectrum differently than English. They have no single word for blue, but many for green, each describing subtle differences in hue that English speakers rarely notice. When shown a circle of green squares with one slightly blue among them, most English speakers immediately spot the blue. But the Himba often cannot. However, when shown greens that seem identical to outsiders, they instantly identify the odd one out. Their eyes aren't less capable. Their language is simply tuned to different shades of importance. This phenomenon is known as the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, or linguistic relativity. It suggests that the words we have or don't have shape our perception of the world. To name something is to bring it into being. Without the word, the color still exists, but it remains invisible to the mind's attention. Imagine a world where blue doesn't exist, where the sky is just light and the ocean is just depth. Would the world feel emptier? Or simpler, quieter, less divided by labels? Perhaps naming color gave us precision, but also separation. We began to organize beauty, to draw lines across the infinite gradient of light. Children echo this ancient evolution as they grow. A baby sees color before they can name it. To them, the world is pure sensation, warmth, coolness, brightness. But as language develops, they begin to sort the chaos into categories. What was once an endless ocean of color becomes islands of words. Red, yellow, blue. The mind learns to group what the heart once felt as continuous. And yet, something beautiful happens too. Once a color has a name, it can be remembered, shared, loved. It becomes a part of culture, a signal, a symbol. Colors gain meaning beyond physics. White becomes purity, black becomes mystery, red becomes passion, gold becomes hope. Through language, color becomes emotion. Art and storytelling deepen this connection. A poet uses crimson not to describe a wavelength, but to evoke a heartbeat. A painter layers ochre to suggest the warmth of home. A filmmaker bathes a scene in blue to whisper of distance or sorrow. Through these shared choices, we teach one another how to feel color. But what happens when languages multiply? When one person's blue is another's green. When orange, once just a fruit, becomes a color only after trade brings the fruit itself into Europe. It reminds us that perception evolves with culture, with contact, with story. Even today, new colors are being named. New pigments are being created. The brilliant Vantablack, the soft shimmering YNMN blue. Humanity's palette keeps expanding, reshaping the spectrum with every discovery and every word. And yet, beyond all labels, color remains wild, an untranslatable language of light. No matter how many names we invent, there will always be shades that escape definition, feelings that defy description. Those are the colors of intuition, the hues that live between thoughts, sensed but never said. So much of our reality is filtered through words, and yet, color still reminds us of what exists before language, the raw immediacy of seeing. When you watch a sunset, you don't think, this is orange blending into magenta. You just feel it, the slow exhale of day into night, the warmth fading into coolness. You don't need language to understand that moment. Your heart already knows what your tongue cannot name. Perhaps that's the balance between light and language. We name color to share it, but we feel color to live it. Both are necessary. One connects us to others. The other connects us to ourselves. And in that balance lies a truth that humbles the mind and comforts the soul. that the world isn't defined by how many words we have for color, but by how deeply we let color move us before we try to name it. Light has always been more than what we see. It's what we feel. Every color carries a mood, a heartbeat, a silent pulse that resonates somewhere deep within us. You might not always notice it, but color is speaking to you constantly. Through walls, through screens, through the skies that shift above your day. When morning arrives in pale gold, something inside you softens awake. When night folds in blue, you feel the air cool, the mind slow, the body begin to rest. Colors are not only outside us. They are woven into our rhythms, gently steering emotion like unseen tides. Psychologists call this color-emotion association, the idea that hues can alter mood, focus, even the speed of our heartbeat. Blue slows the pulse and quiets the breath. Red raises energy, excitement, even appetite. Green relaxes the eyes and whispers of renewal. Yellow warms, reminding us of sunlight, laughter, connection. But beyond these scientific effects lies something more intimate, a quiet alchemy between light and feeling that each person experiences uniquely. For one soul, red might mean passion. For another, it's danger or grief. The difference lies not in the light itself, but in the stories we've attached to it. When you remember your childhood bedroom, what color do you see? Maybe the blue of the curtains, or the yellow of a sunlit wall. That color is not just pigment. It's memory crystallized into hue. Your brain has bound light and feeling together, so that even years later, that shade can summon the same warmth or ache in a single glance. In this way, color becomes the language of emotion. Painters and designers have always known this instinctively. They build emotion from contrast, cool shadows beside warm light, silence beside intensity. A painter like Van Gogh didn't just use yellow for its brightness. He used it as hope against despair. He once wrote, "There is no blue without yellow and without orange." He understood that emotion, like color, exists in balance, each shade giving meaning to its opposite. Our environments echo this truth. Walk into a hospital painted in pale green and white, and you feel calm, not by accident but by design. Step into a restaurant lit in amber and red, and you feel warmth, hunger, closeness. Light shapes behavior quietly, invisibly. It tells the nervous system when to rest, when to focus, when to connect. Even nature uses this emotional palette. Autumn burns with red and gold before the stillness of winter. Spring arrives in soft greens, coaxing renewal. The world, in its cycles, mirrors the moods of the human heart. It reminds us that emotion and color are not separate. They're part of the same cosmic rhythm. Neuroscience has found that when we look at certain colors, areas of the brain linked to emotion and memory, the amygdala, the hippocampus, light up. That's why color feels alive, why it moves you without words. The sight of a gentle pink sunset may bring peace not because of wavelength, but because your brain reads it as safety, a signal that the day is complete, that the world has softened again. In this way, color isn't only perception, it's regulation. It balances us. We seek it instinctively, the way plants turn toward sunlight. After a gray winter, we long for green. After chaos, we crave calm blues. Our nervous system yearns for the hues it needs to heal. Light even guides our biology. The blue tones of daylight keep us alert, telling the body it's time to be awake. At night, that same blue suppresses melatonin, the hormone of sleep. That's why candlelight, with its amber glow, feels so natural before bed. Tells the brain, the day is done, the rhythm can slow. Perhaps that's why sunsets feel sacred. They remind the body how to let go. They paint the horizon in colors that calm the pulse and prepare the mind for rest. Every evening, nature itself becomes a gentle artist, showing us the palette of peace. And then there are moments when color is more than calm, when it becomes emotion incarnate. The blush of dawn that feels like tenderness. The violet of twilight that feels like closure. The deep indigo of midnight that feels like mystery itself. Each hue seems to echo a human truth, as if emotion and light were two sides of the same coin. Perhaps that's not coincidence at all. Perhaps emotion is light, energy moving through the body in waves, just as color moves through space. When you're joyful, the world seems brighter. When you're grieving, it dulls to gray. The external mirrors the internal because both are made of vibration. Both are part of the same living spectrum. So when color touches you, when a sunset makes you sigh or a warm lamp makes you feel safe, it's not just your eyes responding. It's every cell, every memory, every hidden current of feeling. You are not just seeing color. You are being colored, shaped, softened, lifted by it. And maybe that's why color feels spiritual. Because it reminds us that we are part of the same light that moves through everything. That emotion is not separate from nature. It is nature, expressed through the prism of the human heart. When you next notice the color of your surroundings, pause for a moment. Ask yourself how that light makes you feel. Notice what stirs beneath the surface. Calm, warmth, longing, peace. That is the quiet conversation between light and soul. Imagine hearing color. Not just seeing a shade, but feeling it hum softly through sound. A note of blue drifting like a flute. A shimmer of yellow ringing like laughter in sunlight. For most of us, senses stay in their separate rooms, sight in one, sound in another. But for a few rare minds, the walls between them are thin, translucent. Light leaks into melody. Sound spills into color. The senses mingle, dance, and create a world where everything glows with connection. This phenomenon has a name, synesthesia. It comes from the Greek, syn, meaning together, and aesthesis, meaning sensation. Together, it means joined perception. In a synesthetic mind, the brain's sensory regions overlap. So the color processing area of the visual cortex might light up when someone hears a musical note. To them, a C-sharp may look like turquoise. A deep bass may bloom into crimson. Every sound becomes a brushstroke of light. It's not imagination. This wiring, a literal blending of pathways that usually remain distinct. Scientists think that during early development, all babies may start with these connections, but most brains prune them away as the senses specialize. For synesthetes, those bridges remain. Their perception becomes a symphony. Consider a pianist who sees each chord as a flash of color. When they play, their inner world bursts into fireworks. Lavender arpeggios, golden harmonies, silver tones that shimmer like rain. Some describe it as overwhelming, others as transcendent. It's as though the universe itself has turned into a living painting. And synesthesia isn't limited to sound and sight. Some taste colors. A piece of chocolate might feel deep blue. The name Samantha might taste like cinnamon. Numbers can have personalities. 3 feels friendly, 9 feels serious, 7 glows with green. To the rest of us, this seems dreamlike. But to them, it's reality, consistent and constant, as solid as daylight. Their brains weave meaning across senses the way a prism weaves rainbows from light. What's most beautiful is that synesthesia reveals something about all of us. That the boundaries between senses aren't as firm as we think. We too feel echoes of this blending. Music can feel warm or cold. Colors can seem loud or soft. Even our language remembers this hidden unity. We speak of bright sounds, warm voices, sharp flavors. The senses whisper to each other more often than we notice. This cross-sensory communication happens in the thalamus, the brain's grand relay station, where signals from the eyes, ears, and skin converge. There, information mingles before it travels to the cortex. Perhaps in every mind, there is a moment, a fraction of a second, when sight and sound share the same breath. For synesthetes, that moment simply never ends. Some artists have turned this gift into music and color the rest of us can glimpse. Composer Alexander Scriabin wrote pieces meant to be seen as well as heard, assigning each musical key a specific hue. The painter Vasily Kandinsky saw music as a living form of color. He said yellow was like a trumpet, blue like a cello, and white like silence itself. Even Duke Ellington, the jazz legend, described his songs as shades. Some days his band played in tans and golds. He said, other nights in purples and grays. For these creators, sound was never just sound. It was texture, light, movement, an experience of total unity. Perhaps that's why their work feels so alive. They were painting emotion across the senses, reminding us that creativity begins where boundaries dissolve. Scientists have scanned the brains of synesthetes, watching as auditory notes ignite the visual cortex, or as words light up the areas for taste. It's as if their perception is tuned to a deeper harmony, a reminder that consciousness itself may be more fluid than we imagine. Some researchers even believe synesthesia offers a window into how all meaning is built. The brain is a translator. It takes patterns of light and sound and turns them into experience. So perhaps we all live in a quiet kind of synesthesia, each color shaped by emotion, each sound colored by memory. When a lullaby feels soft blue to you, or a thunderstorm feels dark purple, that's not poetry. That's your brain painting. It's no coincidence that art, music, and storytelling have always moved us so deeply. They awaken that original unity, the ancient harmony of senses that once spoke together before evolution separated them. When we listen to a song that brings us to tears, or watch a sunset that seems to sing, we are touching that same hidden place where color and sound are one. In that sense, synesthesia isn't strange. It's remembered. It's the echo of how life might have felt when the world was new, when the first humans painted with ochre on stone, and saw not just red pigment but rhythm, song, pulse. To them, color wasn't decoration. It was vibration, a piece of the world's living heartbeat. So the next time you listen to music, close your eyes and notice what colors bloom behind your eyelids. Let the notes swirl, let the hues rise. That's your mind's own synesthetic whisper, a small, beautiful bridge between the senses. Perhaps we all hear colors in our dreams. Perhaps we all see music when we let ourselves be still enough to notice. The truth is, every human mind contains that hidden prism, waiting quietly to let the world sing through light. Color is not constant. It moves, it ages, it changes with the eyes that behold it and the life that beholds those eyes. From the first dawn you remember to the twilight of later years, light flows differently, revealing a world in subtle motion, a living spectrum shaped by time itself. The lenses in our eyes, clear and soft in youth, gradually yellow with age. Blues dim, whites warm, and the world gains a golden haze. Not because light has changed, but because our bodies have. Some hues fade quietly, others shift imperceptibly, until the same red of a rose that thrilled you in childhood feels warmer, deeper, almost older. Even the green of grass, once sharp and bracing, softens, becoming a gentle carpet beneath your feet. Hormones also sway the perception of light. Pregnancy, menopause, or the subtle shifts of mood influence the way cones respond, tuning brightness and sensitivity in ways we often fail to notice. The world of color is alive within you, shifting as you shift, a reflection of your body as much as your eyes. And yet, not all change comes from within. The sky itself changes hourly, daily, seasonally. Sunrise spills gold across the horizon. Noon glows harsh and white. Twilight slips into violet and indigo. Every hour, every moment, the light that reaches your eyes dances with a different intensity, painting the same objects in subtly new hues, reminding you that permanence is an illusion, even in color. Consider how our vision adapts to light's temperaments. A red brick at noon is one thing. That same brick under the amber glow of sunset feels warmer, deeper, more resonant. Your perception is not fixed but flexible, a dialogue between the world and your senses. Life, like light, refuses to stay still. Some changes are more profound. When cataracts form, the lens clouds, muting and distorting colors, turning the bright into the soft, the sharp into the muted. Suddenly, your world can seem distant, like looking through a veil. Yet even here, the brain compensates. It remembers, it reconstructs, it fills in what the eyes cannot fully show. Your perception adapts, a testament to the resilience of the mind. Aging also brings new dimensions of subtlety. As brightness declines, you may notice shades you never attended to before. The pale mauve in a shadow, the copper glint in autumn leaves, the silver shimmer on water at dusk. What is lost in intensity is often gained in nuance. The world does not shrink. It softens, becomes a whisper, a gentle symphony of light instead of a roaring chorus. And then there are moments when life itself shifts your perception. Grief, joy, fatigue, or exhilaration can tint everything you see. A room may feel warmer when laughter fills it. A sunset may bleed redder when sorrow lingers in the heart. The eyes are instruments, yes, but the mind is a conductor, blending physiology with memory, emotion, and experience. Color, in this sense, is not only external. It is intimate, intertwined with our very sense of being alive. It reminds us that perception is personal, temporal, and fragile, a bridge between the universe's constancy and our own fleeting presence within it. Even the world beyond human sight participates in this shifting light. Stars burn across cosmic distances, but the color you perceive depends on your eyes, your atmosphere, and the filters of distance and dust. A nebula glows differently through a telescope than with the naked eye. Ultraviolet and infrared dance unseen, waiting for instruments to translate their whispers. And in this, there is a parallel. The colors of life are both universal and intimate, objective and personal. As we grow older, the world softens its colors as if learning to whisper instead of shout. This gentle transition mirrors the rhythms of life itself. Bright beginnings mellow into reflective middles. Dramatic moments become subtle memories. And in this quieting, there is comfort, a way for perception to keep pace with the heart. Perhaps this is why dawn and dusk feel so sacred. They remind us that color is never static. It is a teacher, showing that change is natural, beautiful, and inevitable. The orange of sunrise will always fade to day, and the indigo of evening will yield to night, just as our own days shift in tone and intensity. Even as our eyes weaken, our appreciation for the spectrum grows. We notice what we once overlooked. We cherish what remains vivid. We become aware of the infinite gradations that compose every object, every shadow, every ray of light. In this ongoing dialogue between eyes and world, between body and mind, we understand that color is not merely observed, it is experienced. It is a living, breathing companion that grows with us, teaches us, and whispers the passage of time. Through every dawn, every dusk, every subtle shift in hue, we learn that perception is both fragile and miraculous. Step back from the personal, from the intimate warmth of human perception, and look outward, far beyond the eyes, beyond the mind, into the vast expanse of the cosmos. There, color exists on a scale both immense and invisible, stretching across distances too vast to grasp, illuminating truths that only physics can whisper. The stars themselves are born in color. Hydrogen burns with soft red light, helium glows in golden warmth, oxygen flares green, and neon shines in delicate orange. Each element emits a signature, a cosmic fingerprint of light that travels across unimaginable distances to meet our eyes. The same laws that paint a nebula also paint the rainbow in your morning coffee. The universe speaks in the same language, only the scale has changed. Look at a distant galaxy through a telescope, and the colors you see are not what they were when the light first left. Blue light shifts toward red, stretched over millions of years of cosmic expansion, a celestial Doppler effect. We see not the present, but a memory of color, an echo from across time. Every point of light is a messenger, carrying energy across voids, waiting for a mind capable of noticing. And yet, much of the universe remains unseen. Infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, light exists far beyond the boundaries of human perception. We have instruments that translate these invisible waves into hues we can comprehend, but even then, we glimpse only a fraction of the full spectrum. The cosmos is painted in colors our eyes cannot hold, waiting for minds capable of learning new ways to see. Consider the nebulae, clouds of gas and dust where stars are born. They glow with the unseen, ultraviolet flames of hot, young stars, the infrared whispers of cool dust. To the naked eye, these regions might appear dark, empty, even silent. Through technology, though, the colors unfold, each wavelength a note in a vast symphony, revealing motion, temperature, and elemental composition. The universe, in all its majesty, is not silent. It is vivid, it is alive, and yet it waits for perception to awaken. And then there are phenomena that stretch beyond color entirely. Black holes, invisible to human sight, bend light around them, warp space and time, and reveal their presence through the subtle interplay of brightness and shadow. Gamma ray bursts blaze across the cosmos for brief, brilliant moments, releasing more energy in seconds than the sun will in its entire lifetime. Even here, color exists not just as pigment, but as information, light as a storyteller, writing narratives across the void. Yet, despite this vastness, human perception is still connected. The same physics that produces a nebula's glow also illuminates your eyes. Every photon that reaches you, whether from a candle or a distant star, obeys the same cosmic laws. The universe paints with consistency, but we perceive it subjectively. Your vision, your brain, your memory, they all sculpt the raw light into a personal experience. Some of the colors the universe offers are entirely beyond direct observation. X-rays from exploding stars, infrared from hidden dust, radio waves from spinning pulsars. Invisible yet measurable, translatable into colors we can see. Human ingenuity has extended our senses, allowing us to expand the spectrum of our awareness, to see what was once inaccessible. The cosmos reminds us that perception is not a limit, but an invitation. Look closer still and consider the most subtle colors, the background light of the universe itself, the afterglow of the Big Bang. Every direction you gaze carries a faint, ancient glow, billions of years in the making. It is there, whether or not eyes notice, patiently waiting to be discovered, measured, understood. The universe is a painter whose palette is infinite, whose strokes are measured in time and space, and whose canvas stretches beyond comprehension. And yet, all this cosmic grandeur is intimately tied to our experience. The same cones and rods that allow you to see your bedroom wall also receive the photons of distant suns. The brain that paints the warmth of sunset can also translate starlight into awe. Every perception of color is a connection, a bridge between human consciousness and the vast, luminous universe around us. Perhaps that is the deepest wonder of all. The cosmos exists in all its invisible complexity, yet it reaches into our eyes, into our brains, into our hearts. The colors we see are not just wavelengths. They are reminders that we are participants, not spectators. We are small, yet essential. We are finite, yet capable of glimpsing the infinite. And so, when you next look at the sky, at the stars, the moon, the faint glow of a nebula, remember this: the universe is colored in ways both visible and hidden, tangible and mysterious. Every hue, every photon, every unseen wavelength is part of a story that begins in energy, travels across space, and ends in your mind. You are both observer and participant. You are the universe seeing itself in light. Perhaps seeing color is more than biological or cultural, more than physical or emotional. Perhaps it is the way the cosmos becomes aware of its own light, a reflection of itself in consciousness. Through every rainbow, every afterimage, every faint shimmer beyond human sight, the universe whispers, "I am here, I shine, and you too can see me." As we drift toward the quiet of night, let this thought settle gently inside you. You are witnessing a fragment of the infinite. Your eyes, your brain, your heart, instruments tuned to the cosmic song of light. Every color you perceive, every nuance you notice, is a collaboration with the universe itself. And in that awareness, even the darkest corners of night are luminous. As you settle into the quiet of night, let your mind linger on the journey we've taken together. From the intimate glow of dawn spilling through a window to the distant shimmer of galaxies far beyond human reach, color has been our companion, our teacher, our quiet miracle. You have seen how light bends through the prism of the eyes, how the brain transforms it into thought, how culture and language shape the hues we notice, and how emotion and memory breathe life into every shade. Perhaps now you notice that you do more than just see color. You experience it. Every subtle difference, every invisible gradient, every memory or emotion tied to a hue. It lives inside you, painting your inner world in ways words can only begin to describe. The colors of your life are uniquely yours, sculpted by biology, by memory, by feeling, and by the quiet, constant work of your mind. And yet, these personal experiences are not separate from the universe. The photons that reach your eyes, the wavelengths your brain deciphers, are part of the same cosmic energy that lights distant stars, that forms the swirling arms of galaxies, that whispers across the invisible spectrum of infrared and ultraviolet. To perceive color is to be connected to the cosmos, to life, and to every mind that shares this moment with you. Your perception is a bridge, spanning the personal and the infinite, the fleeting and the eternal. Some people see more colors, some less, and some even hear or taste them. And all of it, every variation, every subtlety, every unseen shade, is beautiful. Tetrachromats glimpse secret gradients that others cannot. Synesthetes feel sound as light. Those with limited vision discover nuance in textures, shadows, and emotion. No matter the eye, no matter the mind, color is never lost. It simply takes a different form, a new language, a unique experience, reminding us that beauty is not uniform, but infinitely diverse. Let yourself breathe into this thought. Color is not merely light. It is perception. It is memory, emotion, language, and thought. It is the brain's quiet alchemy, transforming energy into experience. It is the cosmos painting itself, and your consciousness recognizing it. Tonight, as your body softens into rest, imagine the invisible spectrums still around you. Infrared warmth of the room, ultraviolet traces dancing beyond your sight, cosmic light traveling across eons to meet your eyes, even if unseen. All of it is part of the endless, unspoken symphony of color. And all of it is inside you, waiting for awareness, waiting for dream, waiting for sleep to cradle it gently. Close your eyes now. Let the colors inside your mind fade into quiet light. Think of the unseen spectrum as a gentle tide, ebbing and flowing through your consciousness. Let the secret blues and reds, the subtle greens and golds, the cosmic violets and cosmic oranges, settle around you in soft harmony. There is nothing you need to name, nothing you need to categorize, just the quiet, infinite presence of color, breathing with you, breathing as you.